Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Hope you are all well. Thank you very much for tuning in again for another video on this channel. So today we are going to be looking at the Premier League transfer window that is just closed. Obviously lots of incomings and outgoings on each club. We're going to rank them out of 10. I'm going to take into account both teams and the players they brought in and let go of as well. So give it an overall score out of 10. Let me know in the comment section if you agree. Let me know what business your club did. If you liked some of the signings they made, if you didn't, where they should have strengthened if they missed out. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Arsenal, I give them a 9.5. It would have been a 10 if they didn't pay 65 million for Kai Havertz. So, but that's so harsh on Kai Havertz. I'm only joking. 9.5. I think Arsenal did great business. You know, Declan Rice coming in, replacing Xhaka, bringing Havertz in that extra role. Yuri and Timber, unfortunately, got injured, and it actually Timber getting injured made me give it a 9.5, not a 10, because I thought when he got injured, we seen at the start of the season Partey playing right back, Gabriel on the bench a lot, Zinchenko wasn't playing. I think Timber started the first game at left back against Forest, so when he got injured, I thought they'd bring in another fullback, and they didn't. So I was very surprised that they didn't go and explore that market. You know, Cancelo was linked at some point, I think. So yeah, I think if they brought in a fullback, it would have been a 10. I think the players they got rid of, they brought upgrades in. You know, Turner went, they brought Raya in, Xhaka went, obviously Declan Rice come in, which is a massive upgrade. So yeah, I think a fullback position, if they'd have got that, it would have been a perfect window for Arsenal. But nevertheless, it's such a strong window for them, and hopefully they can, you know, build on that, bring in more players in January, and be in a very good position towards the end of the season. Aston Villa, I've gone to give them an 8.5. I think kind of similar to Arsenal. They brought in the positions they needed to until injuries struck with some departments where they didn't strengthen. I think when Buendia did his ACL, they brought Zaniolo in. You know, when Tyrone Mings did his, Longley came in the end. For Villa, I think that they missed out on a few key positions. I think a striker, especially when you sold Karen Archer for 20 million, you know, probably want to reinvest that into another striker who probably support Ollie Watkins. You know, they only got John Duran now, and Zaniolo can play in that striker role, but is more of a winger. I would say, but I don't really watch a lot of him, so actually I'm just going off what I'm seeing. But yeah, not bringing in an out and out striker to support Watkins, and I think another fullback at right back. They're very short in that department. You know, Kane Kessel Hayden went out on loan, so they've only got Matty Cash. He's been playing more as a right mid now, but if Matty Cash were to get injured like he did last season, he missed a fair few chunk of games, and Ashley Young played in there, then Villa might have a problem if you're going to try and put, like say, for example, Diaby there. He's not. I can't imagine him being quite defensively minded. So would have been a lot higher if they'd brought in a fullback. It would have, if they brought in strikers, it would have been a perfect 10 for Villa. But again, you can't deter the signs they've made. Some great addition to Villa, and it'll make them stronger for that Europa Conference League and in the league to push on to hopefully the top 6 finish for themselves. Brentford, I've gone for a 6.5. Brentford had a quiet window. I think it went quite under the radar. You know, they didn't bring in many players who, you know, they've approved their academy players they brought in, and they brought in very few youngsters, but they didn't bring in anyone of, you know, note, especially when Tony was banned for so long. I was very surprised that I know Sharda come in on a permanent, but again, more pay. It's a fairy tale return for him if it works out. I think it's a no risk transfer, so it's good in that respect. But didn't set LI at Everton, so if you know, and Buemo stepped up with the goals, we can't say that, but I do feel like they really did need, you know, a more potent striker than Morphy at the minute. But they covered that position, and then Collins coming as well at the back, but not really much to do for Brentford. So 6.5, quiet window, covered probably the areas they wanted to, but yeah, didn't set the world alight. Brighton, I have gave them a 9, another high rating for one of the top teams in the league from last season. But I think Brighton's transfer business is incredible anyway. You look at the players, you know, they brought in, they did their business early, you know, Milner, Dahoud coming in, João Pedro, another one. I think the ratings were so high though for Brighton was because of the players that they got. They got 150 million for Moises Caicedo. Like come on, I see it doesn't get better than that. I think, you know, we'll get on to Chelsea in a minute and their transfer business with that, but Brighton basically said, remember that the meme of Rio Ferdinand when he's like just get the contract and get him to put whatever number he wants. I think Brighton did that, and they got that. So they've invested in their squad, brought in a few decent players, a few youngsters as well, and experience with James Milner, and then recouped a big chunk of money with Caicedo and McAllister. So very good winner for Brighton. I think Tony Bloom, what he does, ingoings and outgoings, is very good. Terrific winner for them. I think they'll kick on again. They look quite good this season. So, the players they've brought in. Bournemouth, I'm going to give them an 8. I think Bournemouth probably for me was missing when Jefferson Lerma left, that big imposing figure in midfield. They didn't really bring anyone of a similar ilk. So, hit and miss with Bournemouth. I think they brought in some good players. Probably missing a backup striker again. So many teams that needed a striker, but I do feel that it's such a hard market, especially in the Premier League. You know someone in the Championship who's banging goals like Chubarak. He got moved to Ajax. Could it work out for him? He had one good season. Other players I can think of, like Ross McCormack, who never made the step up. Same with I think Mitrovic is probably the only one, and fair play Dominic Solanke as well, as I mentioned. But understudying someone else to support him. So probably why it was a bit lower, but the players they brought in, Alex Scott, terrific. Justin Clivert, another good player. The left back, I can't remember the name off the top of it. Apparently he's up and coming as well. So yeah, decent winner for Bournemouth, an 8. Probably keep them ticking over to hopefully build on staying up last season and doing the same this. Burnley, 7.5 I've given them. With frustration around Burnley because one team last season, I'm not too sure who that is, got absolutely ridiculed for getting promoted and bringing in dozens and dozens of players. Exactly what Burnley did this year, but not to the same extent, obviously. But yeah, I think they missed out on a striker. Origi was rumoured to be going to them, but he came to Forest instead. Obviously, Weghorst went on loan, so quite a young squad. I know Vincent Kompany wants that mould on the team, but in the Premier League you need goals. We've seen them start this season. I think Kompany's he's been backed, which is fair enough. We never see this from Burnley. Probably the money and the players they've brought in. So a few decent additions in there. I think some of them will come good. But yeah, missing out on the striker and a few areas probably that they probably would have more than strengthened. But decent additions, but nothing to really to shout about. For Chelsea, I have gone for a 7. I think a few people I've watched and seen this said Chelsea had a great window. I don't think they did. I think it's just kind of the scattergun approach again. They brought in players who, young players for the future, not brought in the here and now. When Nkunku went with his injury, was out for 4 months, I really thought they was going to break the bank and bring in a striker. They haven't. Jackson could still come good. Obviously, it's 4 games. His missing against Forest really didn't help, but he still could come good. But you've not really got anyone supporting him in that respect. Again, mention a striker, but Chelsea can go out and buy that. I thought Vlahovic would have been used, or when he was offered to Chelsea for Lukaku going the other way, thought they would have snapped their hand off for that, but they didn't. So yeah, and again, as I mentioned with Caicedo, 115 million, you've kind of just seen Liverpool and wanted it for yourself. He's not had the great start. I mean, the price tag's massive for himself, which he can't help. But yeah, they brought in just too many players again. It's going to take a long while, and we're going to see the same in January. Cole Palmer's another one. 45 million just for, he won a treble last year. He was, a bit part player in that. So yeah, it's disappointing one again for Chelsea. I think not getting that striker, but they've got players in that in different positions, so will gel together at some point. Might prove me wrong. Crystal Palace, I've gone for a 6.5. I think Palace had a quiet window when you lose some of Wilfried Zaha's calibre as well. I really thought they would go and bring in someone similar in. I know they got Eze and Elise. Which I probably should have put them higher, actually, keeping hold of Michael Elise. What a move that was for him to, basically Chelsea played the release clause if you don't know, and he basically said no and signed a new contract with Palace. So fair play to him for doing that. But again, we've probably mentioned it for maybe every single team I've just mentioned, but a striker. Palace bring a striker. They've got Mateta and Edouard who don't score that many goals. So when you've got quality like Eze and Elise as well, you need a striker that can put the ball in the back of the net. But quite a window. They did a bit towards the end with Dean Henderson coming in with Guaita. Looks like he has left, and what happened there. So bit of play. They brought in a few deep, but again, nothing that jumps out. Everton, I've gone for a 7.5. Everton actually, like at the start, had they're going to have a really bad window, but they brought in a striker, similar to Calvert-Lewin's statue, powerful, good in the air like Beto is. So obviously him and Calvert-Lewin could strike up a partnership, then that'd be great for Everton. Jack Harrison on loan, I thought it was a very good signing for them, especially with Damari Gray now leaving in the circumstances they did. But with Iwobi going, it would come out of the blue, they didn't really replace him. So been hit and miss for Everton, but I think just getting that striker through the door. Because obviously Mopé's now gone with his record. I don't think Sean Dyche was a fan, and Calvert-Lewin's injury record. They really did need someone. It's just a case now if Beto can put that ball in the back of the net, that 7.5 could jump to easily a 10 if he scores goals. If Everton are in a relegation fight and he's got 1 or 2 goals, then it's not going to be looking good for Everton again. Fulham, I've gone for a 7, probably similar to a few teams that, if I mentioned it prior or I will do going forward, they've just lost one of their key talisman, Mitrovic. Didn't reinvest it. Raul Jimenez come in last 2 seasons. Obviously, I know he had a really bad head injury, and it's probably changed him as a player sometime. But he's not scored. I don't think he scored a Premier League last year. If you're replacing Mitrovic, who scored 16, 17 goals last year, so scored none. Especially the money they got as well. But I probably reiterate the point is it's finding that striker, but it's one of them. They probably Fulham fans wouldn't have been happy losing him and then bringing in Jimenez and no one else. And the only reason it wasn't allowed is because João Palhinha, his move to Bayern Munich, fell through. If they lost Palhinha, it could have been even worse for Fulham. So it's a steady 7, but they're not going to hit the heights as they did last season, I don't think, especially losing a striker. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jimenez is on 1 or 2 goals in January. They will bring in another striker. Liverpool have gone for a 7.5. I think Liverpool should really be 0 for just not paying the money for Jude Bellingham, really. Especially when, I don't know, obviously it's hypothetical if they've gone for Bellingham, bringing him in. Would he have, if Real Madrid had matched the offer, would he have gone to Real Madrid still? It was one of them. But if they had they was happy to spend that on Caicedo, so why not spend it on Bellingham? I don't know, but yeah, I think, was it Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Henderson, Milner, and Fabinho left. That's 5 midfielders off the top of my head, and they only brought in 4. 2 of them are obviously the centre mid position, you'd say. The other 2 are probably more attacking minded. So, and they was missing one. Obviously, we don't have the money to spend, and they go bid 150 million for Caicedo, or was it 100, whatever it was at the time. Yeah, really, probably dodged the bullet, but yeah, they really still. I think they're still missing a midfielder. I think they'll look into that when January comes around, or definitely next season. But they got one through the door in the end with Ryan Gravenberch, which was probably bumped up that score by a little bit. Otherwise, it could have been easy as 6.5. Talking to 6.5, I've gone that for Luton Town. I think everyone said it. I think Luton are planning for next year already. They've brought in players who are strong Championship players to get a Premier League experience, come down. That strong squad who have that experience to go back up again. No Premier League experience players they really brought in. Barkley, you could argue, Nakamba as well. Other than that, there's players there like Tahith Chong, Kaminsky, Mads Anderson, Ugbene. There's Championship players really. So get that experience, come back up. In that respect, if it was a Championship, was doing a Championship out of 10, definitely would have said probably 9 towards 10. But yeah, we're in the Premier League. We've seen the struggle already, and just get that experience. I think Luton will come again. Man City, the champions, I've gone for a 9. I think City had a great window. I think they've lost a few players. That's a Gundogan, Laporte, etc. But they brought in players, strengthened with Doku coming in, Kovacic, Guardiola. So yeah, but for City more, they only brought in 4 players, but I think their outgoings as well, as I mentioned, is I've took into account for both. But they sold was it Shea Charles, a youngster, not really know much about him, but to Southampton for 50 million or something like that. Carlos Borges went to Ajax for 18 million, a player who's not played in the Premier League. So they've recouped a lot of money. Cole Palmer as well, they got rid of Cole Palmer as well for 40 odd million. So it's great business from City. You know, they've strengthened in key areas, so what more can you ask for? Man U gone for 7.5. I think Man U scrambled towards the last few days of the window, didn't they? You know, desperately trying to bring in that midfielder when they brought in Amrabat. A decent signing if he plays like he did in the World Cup. I can't say I watch a lot of Serie A to see that if he is in and out, but you don't get linked with like the likes of Barcelona, etc. Every few windows if you're not a decent player. So yeah, 7.5. I've not seen much of Højlund, so he looked quite good when he come on. So if he can actually be that, goal scorer for Man United, which they do need again, this 7.5 goes a bit higher. Got rid of a few players that they needed to. I think Harry Maguire's still there, so again, quite bumps it down. I feel sorry for Harry Maguire, but he's not going to play. If he could have got a fee for him, probably would have jumped it up. But 7.5, nothing to shout about. But I don't think Ten Hag will be would have been happy with that window either. But it's done. They've got to do what they've got to do. Newcastle, I've gone for a 7. I think Newcastle are being smart with it. Obviously, FFP is a big factor of this, but they are bringing in players who are, they brought in Tonali, Harvey Barnes. So they have spent, but I don't think they're not expending what people thought they would. People are expecting Neymar and Mbappe to be bidded for, kind of like Man City did. So if they're being savvy with it, and also with FFP. So, but yeah, standard bit for Newcastle. They've got the players in. Tonali's a great sign. It looks like. I think they're just missing a centre back and a left back, which I thought they would have done. Thought Kieran Tierney would have been a good option for Eddie Howe to bring him in on loan as well. But it's one of them. 7. I don't think Newcastle will be unhappy with the players they brought in, and the squad they've got is a very strong squad. Hit and miss they have been at the start of this season. So yeah, just stand the 7. Forest, I'm going for a 9. If we'd have done this video a month ago, it would have been 3 or 4. We'd only brought in Matt Turner, Ola Aina, and Anthony Elanga at this point. Not many players going out, but the reason Forest is so high is because of the deadwood we've got rid of as well. I think John Joe Shelby, Emmanuel Dennis look like they're going to leave. Gustavo Scarpa, who's surplus to requirements, has left. Bianconi looks like he's going to go. A few other fringe players have gone out on loan somewhere. So we've trimmed the squad down. So yeah, there's probably only even Horvath who we could have got rid of to make it even higher for us. But the signs we made on deadline day, it was a manic deadline day. I think it was 6 players in the end. Obviously lost Brennan Johnson, probably why it's a bit lower than what it could have been for us. And we reinvested in Sangare. It's going to go one of 2 ways. Sangare, I think. Do you remember when John Michael Seri joined Fulham? That's when Fulham spent loads of money. He was linked with Barcelona for the window. I think something happened. He turned them down, or bid got rejected and never went back, and he went to Fulham. And Sangare could be the same. He was linked with Bayern Munich, Liverpool in the last few years. So if he can be a top quality signing, then yeah. But hopefully he doesn't go the same way as Seri. But to pull someone who was going to be playing Champions League football to come to a potential relegation battle is great. We're wanting players to cover us for the African Cup of Nations. When Awani goes, we've got Origi in. Aurier goes, we've got Montiel in. So yeah, we covered every position in the end, and it was a strong end to the window. So yeah, can't complain. Sheffield United, I've gone for a 7.5. I think Sheffield United was going to be a terrible window for them when Ndai and Berger left, but I don't think they were going to reinvest that money, but they did. They brought in Hamer and Cameron Archer for the same. Probably no disrespect to the two, bit of a downgrade in some senses, but they reinvested the money, which I think the fans wanted. So yeah, they've got the striker, and I think they needed Cameron Archer. He has the potential to score goals, on his debut. So yeah, steady chef, 7.5 for the Blades. Spurs 8. Spurs probably, you might think it should have been a lot higher, but I think they didn't get rid of the players that they should have. Lloris is still on the books. Darren Sanchez was there, but he's left now. But I think Lloris was the big one. I don't know if Celso's in the plans or not, but they still have a few players that probably should have got rid of that are still there. And the big one as well, I think, again, the striker is such a big thing for football, isn't it? Goal scorers. So it's hard to say, but you've just got 90 odd million for Harry Kane. You've invested half of that for the future in Brendan Johnson, but you should have brought in another striker. Richarlison hasn't scored yet. Son's obviously playing well, but if he drops off, then he could be in trouble against Spurs. I think they should have reinvested in the striker. Even Tony can't play till January, but at least like you know he's in the bank to push you forward. But other than that, Maddison, great signing. Vicario looks quite good in goal. I know they didn't sign him this year, but Dogi looks quite good at left back as well. So reasons to be positive for Spurs, but I just think not really investing that Kane money in an out and out striker is probably what brought it down a little bit. West Ham, highest on the list. I've gone for a 9.5 as I did with Arsenal. I think they got 100 million for Declan Rice, and they brought in Kudos, Ward-Prowse, Edson Alvarez, and Mavropanos. What for them for one player, they all look like they're going to do West Ham some good this season. So you can't complain. Probably again another striker, but West Ham with strikers have really bad luck anyway. Wolves has gone for a 6. I think it's pretty obvious that Wolves had such a bad window, downgrading in so many positions, with it being obviously the FFP. Nunez leaving, Neves leaving, even Matinho obviously went on a free. Nathan Collins leaving. They've not really brought in anyone to, replace that quality. So it's going to be a tough one for Wolves, but I can understand with the FFP why it's happened. So yeah, not a solid window for them. I do feel that this FFP malarkey, I think they would have had some money out of it as we've seen in the past, but they've recouped that if they can stay in and around heads above water before the January window or when the window is opening again. Then yeah, could be a reinvestment job in January. But yeah, there you have it. That's all my ratings for the transfer windows for every Premier League team this summer. Let me know in the comment section what you thought. Did you agree with anything I said? Did you disagree? What do you think your club did well? What didn't? What was your ratings out of 10? Let me know down below. As always, if you want to be part of the journey, follow us on all our social media channels. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. It means a massive lot to myself. And I will speak to you all soon. See you later.